this guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would spend less, yet his deficit spending is 100% more than even Justin Trudeau. And what is the real human consequence of that? Food price inflation is rising 70% faster than the Bank of Canada's target. And today, the CEO of the major food bank network in Toronto says that there has been a 400% increase in food bank use there. Does the Prime Minister understand that his empty promises lead to empty stomachs?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it's reassuring to hear the Leader of the Opposition that listened to the Prime Minister during the summer. I'm glad to see that he retained that we're going to spend less so we can invest more, Mr. Speaker, and investing more in Canadians. Like, for example, reducing the taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Like making sure that people who want a first-time home, buy a first-time home, will pay less in GST, Mr. Speaker. Making sure that we eliminate the consumer carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. I think the leader should celebrate that this government is there for families across Canada to build a stronger and more...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he wants us to celebrate his failures, including failures that are leading to real human suffering. Let me quote the CEO of Daily Bread Food Bank, Neil Hetherington. So giving you some context, previously before the pandemic, we were at 600,000 for the year visits to the food bank. And so it took 38 years to get 1 million visits per year, and then only 1 year to get 2 million visits, another year to get 3 million. Now we are at 4 million visits. Food bank lineups are growing and growing at an accelerating rate under this Prime Minister. Does he realize the very real human consequences of his broken Liberal promises?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I'm here to announce some good news. Last night, Canada and British Columbia approved the new Silesum LNG export terminal in northern British Columbia. It's with the Nisga'a Nation. It will be the second largest private sector investment in the history of this country. The second largest in the history of this country. It will employ thousands of Canadians. We would love the Conservatives to help us build Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was not about re-announcing a previously approved project. It was about the cost of food. And frankly, it is insulting. We have asked 10 questions about the cost of food in the last 2 days, and not a single Liberal minister will get up and answer it. Maybe that's because the inflation rate on food is 70% above the target. Maybe it's because there are now 4 times as many visits to Toronto food banks as there were 3.5 years ago. Maybe it's because they broke their promise to stabilize food prices. Maybe it's because the Prime Minister promised that he could be judged on the price of food. Speaking of which, what's the verdict?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, well, I know we're all in this House concerned about the price of food, and we're also concerned about our farmers. The number one cost of living in Canada is related to housing, Mr. Speaker, and as I mentioned yesterday, people are concerned about housing prices. This government is taking action to make housing more affordable. With Build Canada Homes, with tax cuts, with the first-time home buyers tax cuts, we're making a difference for people in their pocketbooks.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was about food prices.
Right. Yeah.
And he stood up to announce that he's going to be feeding some of his friends who are going to populate this latest $13 billion bureaucracy, a bureaucracy that will build no homes and that will only reward Liberal insiders who, like him, have a record of actually doubling housing costs.
Right.
But back to food, the stuff that needs to go on people's dinner table. We have a record number of people at food banks after the Prime Minister promised to make food more affordable. Doesn't he realize that his promises have real costs for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State's report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a little rich coming from the guy who voted against the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker. But I would like to say that Food Banks Canada does exceptional work, and they also make good recommendations for government. One, they suggest we build up Canada's social safety net. Two, they say we should solve the affordable housing crisis, and we should help lower-income workers make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, all of those things are things that Conservative leader votes against time and time in this House.
The question is to the Immigration Minister. There are a staggering 300,000 people in Canada with pending asylum claims. Many of these will be bogus. And new data we obtained today shows the profound cost of this failure. Since 2016, the Liberals have increased the cost of the interim federal health program, which includes support for benefits for people who have likely made bogus claims, by nearly 1,200%. This includes massive spending on benefits Canadians aren't eligible for. Can the minister explain why?
Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the question. We just ran a campaign on restoring sustainability to our immigration system to ease pressure on housing and social services, something the Conservatives also voted for. Our immigration levels plan reduced targets for permanent and resident. That plan is working. New student and temporary worker admissions are down more than 60%. Asylum claims are down 1/3, and new permanent residents will be down 20% at the end of the year. With Bill C2, we can even do more, and I urge parliamentarians to support it.
The honourable member for Calgary Knowles Hill.
The minister just said that the Liberals' immigration plan is, quote, working. The Liberals are spending at least $800 million this year because they allowed the asylum backlog to mushroom to nearly 300,000 people. And these are people, many of whom have bogus claims, and they allow them to stay in the country for years and years. That's why they had to increase that program to that level. This strains healthcare, it strains housing, and it makes a mockery of our once compassionate asylum system. Is this really what the minister defines as an immigration system that's working? Come on.
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, the campaign we led a few months ago, among other things, was about restoring the vitality of our immigration system to alleviate the housing and service crisis, and it's working. The number of new student and temporary foreign worker visas has gone down by 60%, and asylum claims have gone down by 1/3. The number of new residents will be reduced by 20%, and with Bill C2, we will be doing more. I would invite all parliamentarians to join with us in this effort.
For Newmarket, Aurora.
This summer, I sat with agencies in Newmarket and learned of the urgent need for mental health counselling, yet the funds are never enough. But today we obtained new data that shows that the Liberals have increased funding for services like mental health counselling for a group that includes bogus asylum claimants by nearly 1,200%. 1,200% increase in funding. There are many Canadians who have paid taxes their whole life and cannot afford counselling services. Canadians are compassionate people, but why isn't this minister stopping asylum system abuse?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to point out that there is legislation before this Parliament right now that would give the legal authority to my colleague, the Minister of Immigration and Citizenship, the ability to deal more efficiently with the issue of asylum seekers. We know that the migratory pressures are going to continue around the world. We know we want to have secure, meaningful borders. We know we want to have the legislative powers to be able to deal with this situation in an orderly way. The only thing we don't know is where the Conservatives are going to stand on this. Will they let this legislation through Parliament, pass it, and help us fix our immigration?
Believe it or not, this Prime Minister admits he'll outspend Trudeau. Large Liberal deficits made in core inflation 50% over target and food prices 75% over target. No wonder everything is so expensive in this country. And listen to these stats. Beef up 33%, soup 24%, and coffee 22%. Now, inflation's up, deficits are up, and borrowing costs are up. While the economy's down, Canadians are down because this Prime Minister's elbows are down. Why doesn't he put his head down and stop spending so much so grocery prices can come down?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we understand the situation of many families in this country, and that's why this Prime Minister has been key in acting to make sure to make life more affordable for Canadians. But the real question that people are asking at home today, Mr. Speaker, many are looking, why would the Conservative voted against childcare, Mr. Speaker? Why did the Conservative voted against pharmacare, Mr. Speaker? Why would the Conservative voted against the dental care program, Mr. Speaker? Why would the Conservatives stand up in this House asking these questions when they voted against helping Canadians? On this side of the House, we'll always be on the side of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
About a $90 tax cut. That's not even enough to get a bunch of bananas in the week, but Liberal policies are bananas. It's always about promises that they might do something. It's fantasy finance and pretend promises. At this rate, the next budget might as well come out with a box of crayons and a colouring book. This Prime Minister said, judge them by the price of groceries. Grocery prices are up. He said he would deliver the fastest growing economy in the G7. We have the fastest shrinking economy in the G7 and the second highest unemployment rate. Since this Prime Minister doesn't do his own groceries and he admits that, will he at least commit to not making Canadian groceries more expensive?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, every time the Conservatives have a chance to help make it easier for families, they vote against these measures. For example, Mr. Speaker, the National School Food Program, which is actually putting food in children's bellies and helping alleviate families with the cost of feeding their families, these Conservatives voted against that too, Mr. Speaker. Every time they have a chance to help bring down costs for Canadian families, like supporting the National Child Care Program, they vote against it. So they should look hard in the mirror about who's standing up for Canadian families.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Mindapore.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister claims to be different. Instead, 6 months in, Canadians are now learning that this Prime Minister is no different than the last guy, as Liberals increase spending on their well-connected consulting friends by 37%. Every day, Canadians pay more and more for gas and for food. Butter is up 64%, apples are up 60%, and rice is up 74%. So here's a lesson for my Liberal friends. A deficit that doubles isn't different, is it?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
I have a lot of respect for my colleague. I would like to remind her that we already cut taxes on the middle class and on first-time home buyers.
That's true.
And as many Conservatives have asked us to do, we cut also the carbon tax. So all that to say, over the summer we also took a very strong action to bring down costs for broadband services and to increase competition in the telecom sector. Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to be there for Canadians and to build Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told Canadians that he was the man with the plan, yet 6 months later, his budget is nowhere to be seen. And experts now project that his deficit will be double what Trudeau already created. This Prime Minister is proving one thing, that Liberals, no matter how they brand themselves, cannot be trusted to handle our finances. Canadians expect and deserve a government that will work for them on the issues that matter the most. Right. Yet 60% of Canadians say that cost of living keeps them up at night. So when will the Liberals start acting like it?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, we spent the summer listening to Canadians. And you know what Canadians have told this House? They said act with respect to the cost of living, Mr. Speaker. And that's exactly what we've done with respect to reducing tax for 22 million Canadians, reducing the rebate for having a rebate for GST for first-time home buyer. The second thing they said, Mr. Speaker, is make homes more affordable, Mr. Speaker. That's why you've seen recently we launched Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives should be celebrating today instead of talking down Canada and the Canadian economy. Let's work together to build the strongest nation, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, Bukidjewinong.
Speaker, we know that the out-of-control spending of these Liberals has driven
driven up inflation 50%. The Prime Minister's deficit is projected to be double that of Justin Trudeau. Canadians are paying the price, especially at the grocery store. Soup up 20%, coffee up 22%, groceries overall up 70%. The Prime Minister said he should be judged on the price of groceries. He has broken his promise to cut the food costs for Canadians and shown he's just another bait-and-switch Liberal. When will he cut Liberal deficits to bring the cost of food down?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians chose in the last election a Prime Minister that could drive forward an agenda to grow the strongest economy in the G7, and that's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. But let's take a look at the past. The Conservatives, every time they have the chance, vote against families. The National School Food Program, for example, Mr. Speaker, puts food in bellies of children so that they can learn and grow, and, by the way, saves Canadian families $800 a year. Voted against. What kind of help for families is that?
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am concerned, Mr. Speaker. My Conservative colleagues are as well. And Canadians are concerned of the broken promises from the Liberals. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are spending blindly without a budget. And this is going to be devastating when they'll table their budget one day. This isn't a joke. Justin Trudeau seems to be nothing compared to the current program. It'll be double the spending. Out of respect for Canadians, they need to table a responsible budget right now. The Honourable Minister of Industry. I would like to remind my colleague and reassure him that we did reduce taxes for the middle class. Second, we reduced taxes for first-time homebuyers. And we got rid of the price on carbon. Also, what we did this summer, we cut internet prices for Quebecers and Canadians. And we increased competition in the telecom sector. So they should be supporting the government in its agenda to cut costs for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the Minister has announced spending without having a budget. After these broken promises to...
The Prime Minister said Canadians should judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, they have, and his record is aged like an expired yogurt on a hot day in July. Food prices are up another 3.5% because his out-of-control spending keeps driving up inflation. This spending doesn't just show up on the government books. It shows up on the grocery bill of every Canadian family. Will the Liberals admit that the doubling of the deficit will only make food inflation worse?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that Canadians can rely on the services that the federal government has put into place to make life more affordable, Mr. Speaker. Things like a national dental care program, Mr. Speaker. I have heard from so many people in my riding about how programs that the federal government have put into place to make life more affordable are changing their lives, Mr. Speaker. These are the kinds of things Conservatives would cut if they'd had a chance, and we won't stand for that.
The Honourable Member for Nootka-Tecumseh-Willenbury.
If Liberal excuses could fill a shopping cart, no one in this country would go hungry. But families can't eat the word salad these ministers keep dishing out. Today, 25% of households can't afford food. Many are having to skip meals for days. This hardship is the direct result of this Liberal government's reckless spending. Every dollar the Liberals add to the deficit feeds inflation, but it doesn't feed hungry families. Will the Prime Minister finally admit his broken promises and reckless spending are hurting Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians clearly understand the difference between investment and cuts. That's why they chose us in the last election, because they know that we're going to create these jobs that are going to ensure that they and their children have the bright futures that all Canadians deserve. Mr. Speaker, the Canada Child Benefit delivers over $7,700 per child into Canadians' bank accounts every year. Mr. Speaker, this is a game changer for families, and Canadians knew that these kinds of things were at risk with Conservatives that cut.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said Canadians would judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Canadians are indeed judging, and 25% of Canadian households are struggling to afford food, and food bank use since the pandemic is up from 600,000 to 4 million at Canada's largest food bank in Toronto. Another Liberal broken promise. Does the Prime Minister understand that the country is facing a cost of living crisis? And will he admit that doubling his deficit will pour gas on the fire of food inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, just a short while ago, Canadians had a choice. They could choose in Conservatives that were promising to cut their way to growth, something that Canadians know is impossible, and instead they chose a Prime Minister who would invest in them, invest in their families, invest in the growth that Canada and Canadians deserve. That was the result of this election. The Conservatives know that they have stood against families every time they had a chance to support them.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, despite the attempt to distract from the real issue, the reality is everywhere I go in my riding, I hear the same concern. People are stretched thin. Families are struggling to put food on the table. This is a national crisis. A new report from Food Banks Canada gives this Liberal government a failing grade on food insecurity. Beef is up 33%, basics like sugar and potatoes are climbing by double digits, and food banks are stretched way beyond their limits. Will the Prime Minister finally admit that doubling the deficit will only make food inflation worse?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, on that side, what Conservatives want to do are cut the things that Canadians rely on. But on this side, we're cutting taxes. We've cut taxes for the middle class. 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker, that are benefiting. We cut the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker, reducing the cost of gasoline and other oils for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we're investing in jobs, in creation of jobs, in skills training, in ensuring Canadians and their children have the best chance at success. And you, the Conservatives across the aisle, Mr. Speaker, voted against all of that work.
The honourable member for Battleford's Lloydminster Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, I will remind you that the Liberals cut the carbon tax after we put pressure on them. We know that the Prime Minister had said Canadians should judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, parents across the country are trying to fill lunch kits with nutritious food, but prices keep climbing. According to the CEO of Canada's largest food banks, visits increased to 2 million under Trudeau and now jumped to 4 million under this Prime Minister. Another broken Liberal promise. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister admit to Canadians now that doubling the deficit will only make food inflation worse?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Well, finally, Mr. Speaker, a place where I can agree with the opposite member. In fact, Canadian families are relying on the government to ensure that their children get a nutritious school lunch. And that's why we have a brand new, in partnership with provinces and territories, school food nutrition program. So, Mr. Speaker, a program and an approach that the Conservatives voted against. These Conservatives, every time they have a chance to help Canadian families, they vote against it.
The Prime Minister promised he would double housing starts. He looked at Canadians in the face and promised. They're down 16%. His plan is a $13 billion bureaucracy that might someday build 4,000 homes. 4,000 homes. Canada had 245,000 new home starts last year. Even if they hit 4,000 homes, it's 1.6% increase. Please, for the sake of Canadians trying to buy a house, tell me this isn't the plan.
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the math is difficult for the Conservatives, but
can you help them?
We can help you. We can help you with this. We're looking at investing $13 billion in affordable housing across the country. Mr. Speaker, those initial 4,000 homes will be on Canada lands in 6 cities across the country. That's getting a quick start on building affordable homes. We're going to see tens of thousands of homes built across Canada in all of our communities. We count on the support across the House. Thank you.
Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
$13 billion for 4,000 homes is $3.2 million per home. That's not affordable. It's all starting to make sense where this scheme was cooked up. You've got a housing minister who oversaw the doubling of rent and the doubling of housing prices when he was mayor of Vancouver. The head of this new agency came from the city of Toronto that increased the cost of building by 700%. It's almost like the interview process for these positions was, are you incompetent? Were you fired from your last job? Once again, for the sake of Canadians begging to buy a home, please tell me this isn't the plan.
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I know it's difficult for the Conservatives to evolve and focus on supporting us to build affordable housing across Canada. That is what we are focused on doing at an unprecedented level. When I was mayor, I had no support from a Conservative government to build affordable housing in Vancouver. I know it was the same in Toronto. We are going to support our local governments. We are going to build in Montreal 20,000 homes on the Namur Ipo, on the site in the middle of the city. We are going to see remarkable progress on this front, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
The dream of home ownership is becoming a nightmare in Canada. The Prime Minister promised to double the pace of home construction. Now they're spending $13 billion to build just 4,000 homes. And yes, the math is $3.2 million per home. This will blow up the deficit and not impact housing starts, which are actually down 16%. Taxpayers can't afford to build $3.2 million homes, but we know this minister can afford to live in one. So will these new homes be as luxurious as his condos?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the member opposite. Again, $13 billion. $13 billion will be invested across Canada, in communities across Canada. We're looking at partnerships with provinces, territories, communities of all shapes and sizes, Indigenous nations. We will empower the private sector to build tens of thousands of homes. We are looking forward to rolling out the most aggressive housing program in Canadian history. We look forward to your support.